good evening, and good evening. Welcome to the Shake Up with Dr. Kit, where you see more of yourself in the dark than you do in the light. I'm surprised nobody's ever asked me, how do you see more of yourself in the dark than you do in the light? But if you really want to know, drop me a little text, okay? And we'll answer that. But until then, I want you to, as we go from week to week, if you like, just like the page, like what you're seeing and share it with, family and friends. And also, if you like to be a participant on the show, Shake Up with Dr. Kit, just drop my team a line. Just check with my team. You can get with them on drkitspeaks@gmail.com, and they will do everything to accommodate you. Okay. So now that I think I've taken care of all the kind of housework that I need to do, so we're going to get right into something this week. I'm with you by myself this week, but here's what I want you to do. I'm telling you right now, as we go through this, okay? If I say something that kind of jars your memory, jars your mind, whatever it does to you, okay, just drop me a little text, and I can deal with that. I can answer that. Put it in the chat, and I'll answer that at the end of the session. Okay. All right. So listen, the last time I did a solo on here, we were talking about this thing we call forgiveness, and I think I might have told you then that it's one of the hardest things for people to do because of the hurt and the pain and everything else, the disappointment that comes along with it. And a part of the reason why some people don't want to forgive people is because they want to hold them hostage. Well, I got not breaking news. I got explosive news for you. You cannot hold another person emotionally hostage unless you first make sure that you are going to hold yourself hostage, because you got to take this stuff up here. You keep it up here before you want to project it out. So just remember that. So I'm going to continue here this evening with talking about forgiveness. All right. And I think the last time, I ended roundabout at the place where I said, listen, if you do it, it will pay you. If you don't do it, it will cost you. And I'm not going to go over that because I did that the last time. But one of the things I didn't do was I'm going to give you a definition. Give you a working definition of forgiveness. And this is my definition. So don't worry about it. If somebody says, well, that ain't right, don't worry about that. It's my definition, what I'm working with. It said definitely to give up your entire claim to punish another person or to exact penalty or to take penalty, incur penalty against them for any wrong acts you think they might have done or committed against you. Negative experience to cancel your negative feelings about another person without expecting any rewards. That's it. That's the key piece right there with forgiveness. You forgive a person without expecting to be rewarded. All right. Otherwise, you're just bartering your emotions away, and you don't want to do that. I think and I know you're worth a lot more than that. So I'm going to go. And so forgiveness, it also requires humility. It takes a person to be humble. That doesn't mean you're weak. Humility is a characteristic of strength, by the way. When you can say to yourself, because I know who I am, I can go to this person and either ask for forgiveness or forgive the person. I'm going to tell you this.
I forget somewhere that died.
When you ask for forgiveness,
I can't address
if the person refuses to forgive you, it doesn't mean you're not forgiven. Okay, you are forgiven. You're free. Your emotions, your thoughts are free. If they want to hold on to this, then they've now put themselves in what I call an emotional or a prison. Okay, they're in their own emotional prison now. They can stay in there because you're no longer worried about them, but they're worrying about you. So humility. And the other thing about forgiveness is trust. To be able to trust yourself, to say to yourself, I am good and I'm clear with me. Okay. And then patience. Just wait, learn to wait on other people to respond to you. Because just because you ask for forgiveness or you forgive somebody, they have to work through their own pain and disappointment and discontentment so that they can get to a place where they feel free to come out of their own self-imposed prison of unforgiveness to come and be at one and at peace with you. So it does take some time. So if you ask for forgiveness and or offer forgiveness and it's taken a while, just be patient. Just be patient. Just remember, you don't have to do anything but wait. Wait on yourself, waiting on them. And so forgiveness, so I'm just going to leave that part right there. So here we go. So forgiveness then is not something that you do. I want to make that real clear. It is not something that you do. Forgiveness starts with the self. If you cannot forgive yourself for what you think you have done that you should not have done, it's going to be difficult for you to accept forgiveness from other people because you don't think you deserve it. Well, forgiveness is not about desert. It's not about you deserving something. It's about what somebody else is doing for you to free themselves. And if we can just get the idea that forgiveness is your ticket to freedom, it is your get out of jail free card. If you play Monopoly like that, but that's what it is. Okay. So you first of all have to forgive yourself and say to yourself, listen, I am worth forgiveness. Why am I worth forgiveness? Because unforgiveness clutters my mind with a whole lot of stuff and keeps me bogged down. Okay. So it's not what you do. Forgiveness is who you are. Yes. Forgiveness is who you are. And it says forgiveness is the sharing of yourself with another person. It is not an act. It is not a behavior. It comes across like that because there is no other way for it to come across. So it is just a vehicle. The behavior is just a vehicle for other people to come to understand verbally or non-verbally that the transaction with this forgiveness has taken place. But the real issue here is the sharing of the self with somebody else. Excuse me. Why am I saying that? Because when you share yourself with somebody else, you're actually giving them the best part of yourself. You're sharing that good part of yourself with somebody else. Now, you don't want to be sharing some toxic part of yourself in this whole part about forgiveness. Okay. You want to share that good part of yourself. How do you get to share that good part of yourself? By first forgiving yourself, cleansing yourself of any animosity and toxicity, that's going on in your life. All right. So that's what the sharing of yourself, just think, you got somebody you love and, you're out somewhere and say, listen, man, this thing is so good, man. And somebody say to you, man, break me off a piece of that. And you said a piece of, which means that you are going to give them a piece of what you told them is so good. So therefore, then, because forgiveness is an experience,
you got one more viewer in there.
Share
that we got two more
with them, and when they accept that forgiveness, they accept that piece of yourself that you share with them. So it is not something you do. It is something that you are. So you're sharing yourself with other people. Now, let me make another statement right here before we move on. Forgiveness, therefore, then, be careful. Be careful about this, what I'm about to say. Forgiveness, make sure you can make a distinction between forgiving the behavior and forgiving the person. We often hear people say, listen, I can forgive this, and this, but I ain't never going to be able to forgive this. Well, that's because they are concerned about forgiving an act, a behavior. That's what it is. But if you forgive the person, you get a two for, they say 2 for 1. You know what I'm saying? You not only will you forgive the person, but you also forgive the behavior. Because if you forgive the person, then automatically you forgive the behavior. Then you can become at one with the person. But if you focus on forgiving the behavior, okay, if that's what you focus on, you don't necessarily have to be at one with the person because you're just taking care of the behavior. And so forgiveness is not about forgiving behavior. Forgiveness is about forgiving the person. But you got to set yourself in a position to be able to do that, because it's this self sharing this self with another self out there that you have in order for you to become at one with each other. Otherwise, unforgiveness does this: bumping yourself, your heads against each other. You do this long enough, my knuckles going to hurt, and then I'm going to want to quit. So if I'm doing this long enough, forgiveness won't happen. Okay. So just know that it is the sharing of the self, the best part of yourself. And it'll probably make a lot more sense, the closer the relationship that you have with the person that you are in this forgiveness transaction with, okay, the greater the enjoyment you will feel when you are once again reunited, as opposed to being split and far apart like this. Because when you are far apart like this, you have things in between you, okay? You can't come together and do this. And this is what forgiveness is: to go back to this place where life was once enjoyable, and forgiveness make it even more enjoyable. It doesn't mean that you forget. Now, here's it. You hear people say that forgive and forget. I would be very careful how you handle that, what you think about that. Because in order for you to forgive, you have to have a consciousness about what happened and when it happened and how you were feeling, hurt or whatever it is, or whether the other person expressed hurt and pain. So consciousness, it is required as a part of the forgiveness transaction. Because if you can't think about it, if you got it out of your mind, then there's nothing to forgive because you forgot. So it requires you to have that. And it keeps you humble, knowing that this is what happened. And so now this is where we need to go from here. So it's more than, or I have difficulty thinking, well, forgive and forget. You have to remember so that you can, as you go through life along your growth and developmental pathway, you have that, because then it keeps you humble. It really does keep you humble. Okay, because otherwise, if you don't do that, if you have all this stuff in your brain about unforgiveness, all the things that happened to you over a long period of time, I'm going to demonstrate to you what happens to you if you do that. So I have this bag here, and inside this bag, I got a whole bunch of stuff. Got stuff inside of here. And I want you to think that inside of this bag here is all the unforgiveness that you have had. You kind of stacked them up over the years towards one person or many people, and you just got it inside of here. Things that you just have not worked through, you don't want to work through, you just got it like here. It's here. So look at what unforgiveness does. Unforgiveness will do this. Because you've got it all here, you're keeping it like, oops, there we go. You're keeping it like this. You got all that stuff, all that stress, all that pressure in your brain, and it's all up here. But listen, in order for me to not let that bag fall on the floor, I have to be pretty still. So in other words, because if I'm not still, this is going to happen, okay? I can't move around. I can't do the things I want to do. So I have to be very still. So now what I'm about to tell you is that all the stuff that I have up here that is unforgiven, it is now controlling my complete behavior, physical and emotional. All right? because I have to stay still in order to balance this thing here. Now, some people, they may say, listen, I don't want to forgive. All right. So, and they're trying to walk and run and play games and do all things. So now they have to hold this stuff up here to make sure that they can do this kind of stuff here, and it will not fall away. But if they want to be free to use their hands to embrace other things and other people and do things, you got to sit still. You got to walk still, and so you're limiting your capacity to interact with yourself and or with other people or with your world. So this is what unforgiveness is. It controls you. Unforgiveness will do you like that. And other people are looking at you thinking, well, they can't see the bag because it's in your brain. And you are at one with the content of this bag in your brain because you put it in there. You can take it out so you can be free to put it down and walk around and do the things that you really want to do. Now you see how powerful forgiveness is, the necessity of forgiveness, and you see how controlling unforgiveness really can be. It hurts. It limits your ability to do things and just to articulate yourself around your community and with yourself. So how do you then get to this point of having the freedom to forgive? Several years ago, when I was teaching at a particular university, the department I was working in, it was not accredited, but the school was accredited. But this particular department was not accredited. So what we had to do was what they call a self-study. The accrediting body came and said, you need to do a self-study. Now, the self-study did not require us to do anything outside of the department because the issue was making sure the department was right for accreditation. The issue of forgiveness is making sure that your department right here is right so that you can be accredited to interact with other people. So one of the things that we had to do was this self-study. The self-study required us to make sure that we had enough library space, enough library books, with all the things that was internal to that specific department was what we were focusing on. They call that a self-study, nothing else, self-study. And in order for you to come to the place where you can feel free and good about yourself, you need to do a self-study and come ask yourself the question, who am I? What kind of a person am I? How am I like right now in the current, in the present? Because we're always in the present. We're never in the past, never in the future. We're always here. So whatever we think about in here, it might have happened in the past, projecting it to the future, but we have to do it like right here. So that's a self-study piece. Very important. And when you do your self-study, you will discover some things about yourself that was been in there, maybe atrophying over inside there for a long time. And, so you got to go inside and clear this stuff out. You don't go in and sweep it out with a broom. You got to think it out, talk it out, and then work it out. Think it out, talk it out, and work it out so your mind is clear. So how do you do this? It requires you to take what I call a long, lonely journey through a dark, quiet place. Unlike when we were doing the self-study for that department, we had a whole bunch of people just interacting with each other. That's how everybody's got their own little piece of paper, making a check marks about what you got. Yeah, we're down on this. Recommendation coming our way. But with this, it's going to take in order for you to do a self-study, we're talking about forgiveness and the need for forgiving the self and sharing of the self, which is my active definition of the working definition of forgiveness. Okay, you've got to take a long, lonely journey through a dark, quiet place. Why long? Because we don't know how long is, and we don't know how long it's going to take you to actually work your way through your experience, not your behavior, but your experience of yourself as you came in contact with certain behaviors in the past and maybe even now. So it's lonely because no one else can can experience your experience the way you experience your experience. I said it like that. No one else can experience your experience the way you experience your experience. And as a matter of fact, you cannot have the same experience more than once. You can have many behavior, replicated behavior, but you can only have that experience once. As a matter of fact, as you are telling somebody about the experience that you had, you are no longer experiencing that behavior. You're giving a narrative as you remember it, but the pain you were feeling at that time, you are no longer feeling that. Why? Because you can't repeat the experience. So it's long and it's lonely. You're up here. It's like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Your eyes are wide open. You're trying to sleep. Sleep won't come. And you do everything you can to make sleep come, and it won't come. Well, what's on your mind? I'm gonna tell you what's on your mind. It's not necessarily, probably not the greatest thing that happened to you during the day. It's probably going to be that one thing that tripped you up, like right here in your brain. Okay, and that's what you're thinking about. Man, I shoulda, coulda, wisha, man, you go through all that stuff, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I call that your 2 a.m. moment when you go down through that stuff. That is it's lonely. There's nobody else there. No TV, no lights, no radio. Your family's fast asleep if you have a family in the house. If you have a spouse in the bed, your spouse is all but snoring in the bed. You're having that long, lonely journey. And it's long, it's lonely. It's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's slow. This stuff will eat you up sometimes if you do not get into your forgiveness mode. That's what I'm saying. You need to forgive yourself so you can say, listen, I am free. Forgiveness, self-forgiveness gives you the freedom to not listen to the stuff that other people are going to tell you about yourself, making you think that you are less than, when they might just be projecting their less than themselves onto you. Okay, so it's lonely, it's a journey, it's long, it's slow, it's insidious, it's all of those things. Long, lonely journey, and you're going through something, going through this stuff. You're walking through your pain and your suffering, your happiness and your joy. You're going through this thing long through. It's dark. So let me tell you about this dark thing. I remember when I was maybe about 15, 16, we went out with a church group. The young folks of the church group went out. We camped out for the weekend. It's on some mountainside, and it was near a cave, and we were going to go into this cave. Man, I ain't never been in a cave before in my life. So here I am with all the other kids. We had our flashlights, our messy clothes that we don't mind getting because it was wet and damp inside. When we went inside there, it was so dark, it was so cold, and the only way I could hear other people talking, but I needed my light, a light or a flashlight, to navigate my way through the darkness inside of this, because they had their light in front of them, but I couldn't see the precipice that was right in front of me, like right here. So I had to be shining this light. And so it is a dark experience that can trip you up and, take you into other difficulties that you're trying to work your way through. So it is a long, lonely journey through a dark, quiet place. It's quiet. And it's only when you can begin to go inside of here and take that long, lonely journey through a dark, quiet place that you can come out victorious and say, yes, I feel free. I have forgiven myself. It doesn't matter what anybody want to say to me, about me, behind my back or in front of my face. I am free. Forgiveness, it is one of the greatest acts of freedom. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself, to ask for forgiveness. And if they say no, you are free. Why? Because you freed yourself here. You got out of your self-imposed prison of doubt, and anger. You just got out of all of that stuff. So it's a long, lonely journey through a dark, quiet place. Okay. Knowing yourself, the way you experience yourself, is something else that you need to do. And you don't want people to tell you who you are, because knowing yourself is an experience. Okay. And so without going through this long piece about who am I, knowing who you are, it is so important. You know, when people say crazy things about you, even might even talk about your mama, say just all these meaningless things. You won't get upset if you know who you are. Because if you know who you are, you can say to yourself, well, listen, two questions you got to ask. If it's true, you accept it, that is true, what they're saying about you. You accept it. The great thing about accepting something is you don't have to like what you accept. But so that's what you do. You like it. If it is not true, you just turn around, look around, and say, oh, they're looking in my direction, but I don't see nobody else here. I know they ain't talking about me. So you tell yourself that. Is it true? And if it is true, accept it, move along, and you don't have to tie yourself down to the mindset of another person, because when you allow what you think other people think about you to be more important than what you know about yourself, then what you're doing is looking at yourself through the eyes of other people. And you don't want to do that, putting yourself through that. Okay, so you need to be very clear about who you are. Very, very clear. So knowing who you are will mean that whatever other people say about you, if it's true, accept it. Here's the key. Here's the key. If you accept it, something that you don't like, you can always change. See that? You can always change. And that's the key to this thing here. Acceptance is not out there. It's all inside here. You can always change things about yourself you don't like. But in order for you to get to that place, you got to accept the fact that you are what they say, or you are who you know who you are, but you don't like it. So therefore, you can begin to change that. And you're not asking other people to change. So you're not changing so that other people can like you. That's not it. You're changing so that you can be available to yourself. That's it. The first person that you are aware of when you wake up in the morning, it's the self. Oh, man, I had a good night's rest. You're always with yourself first thing in the morning, or anytime you take a nap in a day. The first thing that happens when consciousness comes back, it's the awareness of the self. So knowing who you are will not put you at the mercy of other people, okay? And so knowing who you are. And the other thing that I want to say about this is knowing how you are. Who you are is this global picture that kind of separates you from other people. That's your who-ness, as I call it, okay? But knowing how you are, it is a characteristic of your experience of yourself in the present time, like right here in the now. Okay, that's how am I? And then in order to answer that question, there's only one place for you to go. It's into your experience. And you can say, I am. And then you begin to talk about your I amness. But you got to go here. You can't think it away. You can't pray it away. No, yes, you can pray. I shouldn't have said that one. You can pray because then, if you're a praying person, the Lord will help you to work your way through that. But you can't just think it away. You can't pay somebody to take it away. You can't give it away. You can't do none of that. You just can't. It's something that is so private that nobody else on the planet will know what you are going through. What you are going through. And so listen, I think that's enough of me ranting about forgiveness, but it's more than that. It's some serious stuff that I'm talking about here, okay? Some very, very serious stuff. So if you enjoyed that, just share, like, and do that, And and you know, if you want to be a part of the show, just go on my website, or you know, where you can get my email, or I'll give it to you right now, drkidspeaks@gmail.com. But I see I have a question, I believe. Okay, I think let me see if that question is gonna jump up. How do I forgive someone who is no longer living? Oh, okay. How do I forgive someone who is no longer living? The person, it is not required that the person knows that they have been forgiven, because the forgiveness is you creating a place of freedom for who you are. So you can forgive that person who is no longer living, and they are not able to receive the forgiveness, but you can unchain yourself from whatever it is that's holding you hostage to that person. Okay, so remember now, the forgiveness is all about freedom of the self, taking yourself out of this self-imposed prison. So don't think that you have to go and find this person if this person's not available. No, no, no. It's here. It's here. It's like right here. So if the person is no longer living, the person is not available for whatever reason, okay, you just, if you can find them, if they're alive, that's fine. If you can't, because then you can communicate and say, hey, listen, da 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 da, and you can do that. But if they are no longer alive, your forgiveness is what you are doing, giving yourself a wonderful, wonderful gift. That's what you are doing, so that you are no longer tethered, tied to the past of discontent and anger and all the other emotions that may come through that. Okay, so yes, it's possible. If you feel that you can't do that, then you're going to be hanging on to the past when this person is dead and ain't hanging on to nothing. So now you're carrying all of that. So yes, just remember, you can do that by saying to yourself, not the person, by saying to yourself, you know what? I did this and this and this, and I should not have. Or this person did this and this and this, you know, and I've been holding this grudge against this person for a long time, you know, and you know, and every time I think of and I remember, or there's an anniversary, or there's a color, or there's a piece of music, whatever triggers me, I remember this person. Then if what you need to do is to forgive yourself for harboring that unforgiven spirit over a long period of time. There's nothing you can do to that person or with that person. So it's all about you forgiving yourself. All right. Okay. Wonderful. So once more, thank you for tuning in with me. All right. It's been good talking with you. I'm going to be be with you again. So just go ahead, like and follow, and share and subscribe. And, you know, if you want to be a part of this, go to contact my team at drkidspeaks@gmail.com, and I will see you the next time out. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye now.